Beam Team.
Should we light the beam? Light the beam, baby.
Sactown Sports. It's time for game night, getting you ready for Sacramento Kings basketball.
He's got the bucket!
Game night is presented by Power Business Technology, your locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or visit them at powercopiers.com. Here's your host, Scott Marsh, alongside the high flyer, Henry Turner.
And a very pleasant good evening to you. Hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas out there. As we get you ready for game night tonight, Kings back in action. They've made their trip to the Pacific Northwest. They are ready to take on the Portland Trailblazers. Scott Marsh here, the high flyer, under the weather. Unfortunately, the Christmas bug caught him. He will not be here tonight. Kyle Ledbetter is back. Kyle, it's good to see you. Hope you had a Merry Christmas.
I did have a very Merry Christmas, very refreshing, and I'm excited to be back. I'm excited for some Kings basketball tonight. It's been a week and a half since I've been here.
Yeah, you've been traveling Seattle, San Diego, so it's good to have our crew back. We wish Henry the best. Of course, Kings Live pregame will be here at 6:30 tonight. Jason Ross will be in for that. G-Man with the call up in Portland, 7 o'clock tip. And the Kings getting a couple late gifts today, as Malik Monk and Alex Len have both been put on the active roster for tonight's game. So that's a very Merry Christmas gift. That's something we all wanted for the Kings. Of course, Malik Monk did not play on Saturday night, and the Kings got drubbed by Minnesota 110-98. Alex Len, he's missed since November 13th. It's hard to believe, but he's been out for about 6 weeks, and his presence could have helped the Kings in many games. It'll be great to have him back in the middle, off the bench. We'll see how Mike Brown uses him in addition to JaVale McGee, but it'll be nice to have another big man, because the one thing we saw a couple of times during this homestand, the Kings finishing 4-2 on the homestand, but when they did have problems, they were having problems in the middle. No doubt Minnesota, their height, their athleticism bothered the Kings in that game on Saturday night. Again, losing 110-98. Rudy Gobert had a monster night for the T-Wolves, 21 points and 17 rebounds. The Kings just didn't have any answer for him. But Minnesota is a team that is long, they're active. And now that I've seen them in person, I can see why they're leading the West. I was very skeptical about this team and did not think that they would be off to nearly as good a start as they are now, especially after all the trades they made last year. I thought a couple of very poor moves after the deadline with Los Angeles. They gave up Taurean Prince. They gave up Jared Vanderbilt, D'Lo in a Lakers uniform. But I tell you what they have left is pretty good. They may not be as good off the bench. They only got in that game against Sacramento 13 bench points, but they didn't need a lot more because Gobert was so good. Anthony Edwards, this kid is already a star, but he is an emerging superstar. He had 34 points, 13 of 27 from the field, had 10 assists. And to me, like when we talk about potentially, and I'm talking potentially the next great player in the league, you've got to put Anthony Edwards in that mold. I don't know what his ceiling is, but I'm looking forward to seeing that over the next several years. I feel like he has the mindset, the potential to be something extremely special. I mean, he's special now, but I'm talking like best in the game special. I love to watch him play. He's got an extra passion level that is just very rare in this league. And when you start mentioning names like MJ and Kobe, I mean, that is kind of ridiculous at this point because they're in such stratified air that I don't really want to go that ridiculous with Anthony Edwards, but I do feel like his ceiling is about as high as it gets. And I want to see how high he can get. And what I love about the Ant-Man is that he wants it badly. You can tell when he's out on the court, he is on a mission. There is no wasted action with him. And he's a guy who just consistently wants to get better. Now, he did have 5 turnovers in that game, and that's something he'll have to work on. But as we know, most all-stars, most great players turn over the ball a lot. Just look at Steph Curry. Look when Kobe Bryant was in his prime. They turned over the ball a lot as well. So
even guys like Russell Westbrook and James Harden, historically, the quadruple double was the joke that people made. They were averaging 7, 8, 9 turnovers, but they were still high.
But Anthony Edwards is better than James Harden. So,
well, I mean, as of right now, these guys when they were MVP forms.
Yes, that's true. James Harden was a turnover machine. I would give you that. But I'm just looking forward to seeing the overall package of where Anthony Edwards might go in this league, because I do feel like he's got a chance to be talked about in a very, very special stratosphere in this league. So we'll find out. As for the Kings, again, without Malik Monk, I am concerned about the bench. And it's great timing that they are getting Alex Len and Malik Monk both back, because the bench has been a little less than great, especially over the homestand. And again, they got 4 wins on this homestand, so that's nothing to shake your head at. They got the first 3, got off to that 3-0 start. They finished 1-2 in the final 3 games. Phoenix, boy, that team right now is a team in disarray. They played yesterday, did not play well. They got run off the floor again. So Phoenix right now under 500. The Kings are currently at 17-11. De'Aaron Fox had 27 points in the game against Minnesota. As you'll recall, he did not play the first time against Portland. It did not matter. Portland, the Kings able to beat Portland by 3 points here back on November 8th. Keegan had 20. Sabonis went for about as quiet a triple-double as he's had maybe in his career. His 37th all-time triple-double, his 5th of the year. He had 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. All right, that's a look back at the game from Saturday. That look back brought to you by Folsom Lake Honda. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Mike Brown in the post-game presser. He really wasn't as upset as I thought he might be. He actually said he thought his team executed the game plan throughout the most part. I don't know if I can really buy into that or not. The Kings were down by 20-plus points at times in this game. Never to me really felt like they were in it. They did make a late fourth quarter run. They got to within 5, and Anthony Edwards took over in the game. But, I think in the big picture of things, Mike Brown didn't want to put a stain on what was a good homestand for the Kings at 4-2, but I did feel like he might be a little bit more upset. And again, I think the common theme, and Kyle, I want to bring you in for this because you've been high on Minnesota the whole time here. You said that you like Minnesota's team. They're obviously, if not the best, one of the best defensive teams in the league. They're long, they're athletic, and it's not just in the middle. And Karl Anthony Towns didn't even play in this game, but they're long at every position. Maybe not the point. Mike Conley isn't a huge point guard, but if you go down the list, Jaden McDaniels goes 6'8", 6'9". Kyle Anderson, slow-mo is big. Gobert, of course, we know he's over 7 feet tall. Anthony Edwards goes 6'8". Nickeil Alexander-Walker off the bench is big. Naz Reid is big off the bench at 6'10". They're long, they're athletic, they get after you. And I think what we're finding in the league right now, and this is something that'll be really interesting for Monty McNair and his staff, as they get towards the trade deadline, there seems to be a real desire for tall athleticism. Now, the league seemed at one point to be going towards 3-point shooting and versatility. And if you can play the 1, 2, and 3, switch them out, that would be great. Small ball. But if you look at the best teams in the league, they're long, they're tall, they're athletic. The Nuggets, for example, are a very long and tall team with the Joker and Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon now, and that's how they got over. Milwaukee, of course, has been one of the longest, most athletic teams in the league with Giannis and Lopez and go on down the list there. It seems like maybe there's been a changing of the guard in terms of how teams are constructed. And for the Kings right now, they're not necessarily constructed that way. I'll be interested to see Alex Len, if that helps a little bit, but the Kings are more constructed to hit 3-point shots and play with a ton of pace.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we said all last year the Kings struggle with teams who have length, and now we come out this year and it's a similar type of issue. Boston gives them fits, Minnesota gives them fits. Other than the Warriors, no team has beaten the Kings more in the last 2 years than the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, 3 wins last year. They got them here early this year. So, Minnesota is a really long and skilled team. Daryl Morey, the general manager of the Sixers, termed this type of hybrid like the super skilled fives. And it goes from like smaller players who are great at shooting and dribble moves and stuff like that. And then over this last generation, we've taught 6'9" and 6'10" guys how to hold the ball and run offenses and things of those sorts. So I think the way of the league right now is super skilled fives happen to be the best players in the league when you talk about Embiid and Jokic. And
sure, and Gobert doesn't really fit that mold. He's a great defensive player, obviously. He is a true 5 in every sense of the word.
This is true, but I do think as underrated as controversial as the beginning of his career has been, I think Karl Anthony Towns fits the mold of the super skilled 5. And I know that he plays 4 on this team because of Rudy Gobert.
What's interesting, the big cat is a 5 playing a 4. He's a true stretch 4, a big stretch 4. whereas Sabonis is a 4 playing a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just be interesting to see. I mean, that will, I don't know how you fix that if you're the Kings. And I don't know if you want to fix that, because that's part of what makes the Kings so great is that they play with such pace. And Sabonis has mismatches on a lot of nights, but he's also mismatched on other occasions as well.
And to bring it back to the Kings, Keegan Murray is another long, athletic player who we're seeing this year is coming to his own on the defensive side of the floor.
Yeah.
And personally, I think if Keegan Murray were playing the 3 for the Sacramento Kings team and you had a lengthy 4 who you could play alongside Keegan and Sabonis, we might have a different conversation about the Sacramento Kings and their length. Obviously, the roster is constructed as it is right now, but I still think the Kings are up there when it comes to length. I mean, having Sabonis, which is essentially a point center at the focal point of your offense, with Keegan Murray and with Harrison Barnes and with Alex Len and JaVale McGee, who are more traditional centers, I think the Kings have a fair amount of length on the team. It's just when you stack up against a Minnesota who has Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert all able to come at you on the offensive end of the floor, in addition to the defense that they bring, it's just a different animal.
Well, it is. And I mean, so many teams now, because the Kings are going to face this: Minnesota, LA, Denver. I mean, we're talking about April, May, and June right now. The Kings proved that they could be effective with this last year, and they had, again, an incredible offense year, the best offensive rated team in NBA history. They're on pace again to get right where they were last year, right around 50 games. But I think, I don't know, as we're looking at the new year, is there potentially concern about this team and where it's going to go in the playoffs based on where it's at right now? I mean, the trade deadline's not till late February. And chemistry is it's a really fine line. You don't want to mess with that at all. And if you bring in another big, per se, how that affects Sabonis. So there's lots of things there. On the trend, though, the trend is good for the Kings. They're in a great spot right now at a 17 and 11. And but just nights when Minnesota is in, it makes you reflect about maybe what the Kings need to do to take it up another notch. All right, our look at the points in the paint from Saturday night. The Kings were outplayed in the paint, 66-52, the total score. 33 field goals in the paint for the T-Wolves, just 26 for the Kings. That look at the points in the paint, brought to you by our good friends at RT Painting, your reliable and trusted painter in the Sacramento market since 1998. All right, game night's underway. We hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas. If you're out on the roadways, take it easy. We know they're pretty jammed right now. We've got you covered right here. We'll take you until 6:30 Kings Live pregame. From 6:30 to 7, and then the tip tonight, 7 o'clock. Kings and Blazers right here on Sactown Sports 1140.
The Kings are in Portland tonight to battle the Blazers.
Another deep three. De'Aaron Fox from downtown, and I mean, he's out there in 30-foot range.
Tip-off tonight at 7 on your home of the Kings. Sactown Sports and the Sactown Sports app.
Power Business Technology is proud to be 100% independent, locally owned, and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Local ownership cuts out the red tape, allowing ourselves to never be too busy to personally answer the call when our clients need us. Recognized for excellence in service execution, training, and customer service, we're proud to be named a 2022 Toshiba ProMasters Elite Dealer. Contact us today for all of your business printing needs at 844-POWER-BZ. That's 844-769-3729, or visit us at powercopiers.com.
There's no better way to wrap up the year than in a new Ram 1500 from Knight Elk Grove Dodge. Wait, there is a way. Got a new 2023 Ram 1500 DT and take up to $18,000 off MSRP. That's better. During the wrap up the year sales event at Knight Elk Grove Dodge, take up to $18,000 off MSRP on 8 new 2023 Ram 1500 DTs in the Elk Grove Auto Mall and online at elkgrovecdjr.com. MSRP $60,225. Net price $42,192 after $9,000 dealer discount and $90.33 in rebates. Bid PN 621-250 expires 1/2/24.
Kevin Lewis with National Garage Door, reminding you that in Sacramento, National Garage Door is the king of garage doors. We service, sell, and install garage doors and openers. Call us today for your basketball special. A new 16x7 Rainer garage door with insulation and a belt drive opener for only $24.49 installed. Give us a call today, 916-638-4554. 638-4554, National Garage Door.
With RT Painting, our name says it all. We are a reliable and trusted commercial and residential painting company serving the Sacramento area since 1998. Employee owned, our attention to detail is second to none. Put our decades of experience serving our community to use for you. Get a free quote today. Call us at 916-900-8112. That's 916-900-8112. Or go online to rtpainting.com. That's rtpainting.com. RT Painting, your trusted and reliable painting contractor of choice.
So here's a fact. 85% of the population will suffer from foot pain in their lifetime. That's almost everyone. So you'd think there'd be plenty of healthy long-term remedies, but there just aren't, right? Hi, I'm Dan from the Good Feet store. You know, people come in all the time sharing the same frustrating story. Bought this, tried that, been there, done whatever, all different kinds of things, but all with a similar result. Nothing. A discouraging and endless cycle of disappointment. If this rings a bell, don't despair. There is hope. If you think you've tried everything, you probably haven't tried Good Feet arch supports from the Good Feet store. They're designed to relieve, even eliminate the pain commonly caused by certain foot conditions like plantar fasciitis, bunions, flat feet, and others. Plus, provide better balance and increased comfort. See what we can do for you with a free arch support fitting. Just stop in or schedule an appointment. With over 200 stores, there's likely one in your neck of the woods. Find yours at goodfeet.com.
Knee, foot, or back pain? Visit the Good Feet store in Sacramento, Roseville, and Vacaville.
Welcome back in the game night right here. Sactown Sports, 1140 Kings and Blazers tonight. As Sacramento has 3 games on the road now before the new year. Portland today. They'll be Atlanta on Friday, and they finish up on New Year's Eve against the Grizz. And how about Memphis right now? They're 3-0 since Jaws returned. Draw gets player of the week. Everybody's feeling good right now in Tennessee with what the Grizz are doing. They're still way back in the standings. The Grizz are just 9-19, but obviously having Morant back has made a huge difference for that team. We'll see how far they can extend that. The Kings will get a chance to see them for the first time on New Year's Eve. As we said, the Kings went 4-2 on this homestand. They started off 3-0, wins against the Thunder, the Jazz, and the Wizards. They got beat pretty badly by the Celtics, and then they took care of business against the Suns before getting beat pretty badly against the Timberwolves. Kyle, the 4-2 homestand, are you happy with that? I think 4 was the barometer that most of us thought would be a pretty good homestand for the Kings.
I saw some people who were really upset about the loss to the Boston Celtics, and I think it was just the way that they lost, where the Celtics...
They got crushed.
Not only they got crushed, but they had, I believe, 7 players in double figures. It was a really tough game, but 4-2 altogether, I think Kings fans should be happy with how it played out, especially because they got that win against Phoenix on Friday in a game where Kevin Durant went for 30 points, and it was a wire-to-wire victory for the Sacramento Kings. Those are the games they're going to have to win if they want to get to the place that they want to get to, which, you know, is at least advancing further than they did last year. So I think big wins against Phoenix, that's something that you can take away. It stinks to lose to Boston and it stinks to lose to Minnesota, but they are the 2 best teams in the West and East, respectively, for a reason.
They are. Those are the teams that could easily meet up in the NBA Finals. The Suns right now, as we said, are under 500. I don't know if that can be considered a big win, in all honesty, the way that Phoenix is playing right now. But regardless, the 4-2, the win over the Thunder, to me, was by far the best win of the homestand. The Thunder are 18-9. They've played really good basketball. They're long and athletic as well. But overall, I think it's great. It's a matter of expectations. We're 1 year ahead of where we were last year. If you had told fans last year at this time it'd be 4-2 homestand, they would be thrilled about it. But right now, it's just, again, I don't know if people are really excited about 48 or 50 wins. That's the pace that the Kings are on right now. They're really thinking about a first round playoff win in a series and thinking about what the lineup has to look like. So when they're looking at teams like Minnesota, when we're looking at teams like Boston that we know could make a deep run, the fact that Kings weren't really all that competitive, I think, is something that is a little eye-popping as well. All right, game night being brought to you by the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Sacramento during this holiday season. As we know, there are so many kids out there who have just a one parent. They come from a one-parent household. Maybe you could be that volunteer extra mentor in their life. If you have a heart of service, you want to do something good in our community, consider Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Call 916-646-9300 or visit bbs-sac.org to learn all about becoming a volunteer mentor. All right, so we said Kings and Blazers tonight. Portland is a team that is struggling mightily. They're 7-21. Since losing Damian Lillard, there just hasn't been much there in Portland. Anthony Simons has been playing well for them, but he's been up and down a little bit injured as well. Portland's one of those teams we know they're going to be in the lottery. And Kyle, as you look at the road trip with Atlanta and Memphis, certainly in Memphis to close out 2023, Portland's a game you got to get tonight.
Absolutely. And I know that our friend the High Flyer isn't here tonight, but the thing that he's been saying for as long as I've known him is he never overlooks any opponent that the Kings are playing. And at the same time, this is a Portland Trailblazer team that is firmly in the tanking group. They are at the bottom of the Western Conference, and we expected some of this after they traded Damian Lillard and prioritized, draft picks in that deal. Obviously, they got Drew Holiday and then flipped him to Boston. They haven't had the healthiest season. Obviously, Scoot Henderson missed a bunch of games earlier this year, but Portland is still a very good team. They have players who I think give the Kings fits, especially DeAndre Ayton down low. I know Ayton has been a controversial figure of sorts early in his career because of how everything went down with Phoenix, but I think DeAndre Ayton's a very, very good player, and if he does come out tonight and if the Kings end up matched up with him, I think he could give us fits. But you're right. The Kings are one of the four best teams in the Western Conference, and these are the games that you have to win along the way if you're going to maintain being one of those best teams. And they did that at home. Against the teams that were deemed poor teams, whether it's the Jazz or the Wizards based on their standings, the Kings took care of business and dominated both of those teams, and they should expect to come out and do the same tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that. DeAndre Ayton, it's another interesting matchup for the Kings. I mean, he's a 5. I mean, obviously the number one pick a few years ago in the draft. He really hasn't lived up to that. Obviously, he's had some moments. It didn't work out in Phoenix for him. Portland, he's still trying to find his way a little bit. He's a guy who's capable of putting up 25 and 10, no doubt about it. But he's also a guy who likes to play on the high post more than be a true banger down low.
Yeah, and it's interesting because coming out of college, it seemed like that game was going to be something that's suited for him. In the last segment, we talked about Karl Anthony Towns, and that was the comparisons we were hearing a lot about with Ayton coming out of Arizona, and it just hasn't been that for him in the NBA, and I think that's why he's never really been talked about in an all-star conversation or taking the next step. I don't know if people regard the start of his career as a disappointment because he was the number one pick in the draft and because, for all the chatter about the Kings passing on Luka Doncic, well, the Phoenix Suns also passed on Luka Doncic to draft DeAndre Ayton. So, we'll see what happens tonight. I'm a big fan of his game, but I understand some of the skepticism. I mean, he was, for all intents and purposes, the third best player on a team that came within 2 games of winning the championship.
They were so close to getting it done against Milwaukee just a couple of years ago. Now, of course, that team had Chris Paul on that team as well.
Absolutely. And so, Mikal Bridges has turned out to be a pretty darn good player.
And let's not forget Cam Johnson, who is a big time scorer. I mean, but anyways, for Portland, for Anthony Simons, this is a guy who has a real chance to be a special player in this league as well. He's gotten over 30 points 4 times, season best 41. He has scored 25 plus 8 of the last 9 since coming back from a thumb injury. So this is a guy who they're trying to build their team around. Jeremy Grant also, to me, is just one of those underrated players in the league. He's averaging over 22 points a game, signed that long-term contract in Portland, maybe regretting it now, but he's getting paid at least.
Yeah, that was a really strange situation, right? Portland ended up signing Jeremy Grant to an extension, didn't really do a whole lot else, and then Damian Lillard came back and said, we didn't do enough, I'm ready to go. and be traded to another team. And now they're saddled with $160 million over 5 years for Jeremy Grant.
That's the thing, is Portland really rebuilding? That's the thing I can't understand. I mean, they had to move Lillard. He wanted out. They didn't accommodate Miami. Ended up making that huge trade where they got some pieces back, but then they made a secondary trade with Phoenix. They have some pieces, but it doesn't feel like a winning combination. They are still straddled with some long-term contracts. So I don't see them getting out of the bottom of the Western Conference anytime soon.
Well, especially not this year. And like we said earlier,
I'm talking next 2 or 3 years. I mean, I'm not talking just this year. We know this year they're not going to.
It's interesting. I'm not sure what the timeline is going to look like for them, because right now their best player for all intents and purposes is a 19-year-old. You know, they believe Scoot Henderson is the player who is...
And he's been injured too.
Yeah, and so has Simons, and they got Robert Williams in that trade with the Celtics.
He's
and now
been injured.
He's done for the season.
Sure.
He won't be back. So, you know, I'm curious to see what it looks like. I thought that the Thunder were going to be down for 3 or 4 years, and it was really only 2 before they bounced back. So I think the thing that's most important for them is prioritizing the development of Scoot Henderson, because Anthony Simons is a really, really good player. I think this is what he is at this point. I don't think there's a big leap coming for Anthony Simons. Maybe you could say the same for Shaedon Sharpe, although he's only in his 3rd season, so I think there's still room for growth there. I think that the Portland Trailblazers are at least 2 years away, and they have some very talented players on that team. It's just going to be about figuring out which ones they want to prioritize their development long-term and which ones are, you know, not for long in Portland.
Yeah, no doubt. The Kings need to take advantage of this tonight, especially with Monk playing, Alex Len back. The Kings, first time all season, they've been fully healthy. And that's been interesting, because last year, all we talked about with the Kings is how healthy they were. That's the reason they were so good. Well, the Kings really haven't been totally healthy this year. I mean, they haven't had any devastating injuries, and we're going to knock on whatever right now just to not jinx it in any way possible. But they haven't been as healthy. They've held on. The record is as good. In fact, it's outpacing where they were at this point last year. That's all the positive stuff with the Sacramento Kings. But I don't know at this point in the year, I can say the Kings are a better team than they were last year.
I think some of the nerd stats that I like to look at would agree with you. Last year, at the end of the regular season, they were 9th in net rating. This year, they're sitting at 15th. In win shares from star players on the team, they haven't had as many, other than De'Aaron Fox, who is having a potentially starting in the All-Star game caliber season so far. But I don't know. I think the thing that's making it a little bit more difficult is that the rest of the Western Conference has improved from last season. You look at what Minnesota has done, what Dallas has done, bringing in Derek Lively and getting more reps for Kyrie and Luka on the floor together. I mean, Luka had the 50-point game.
Yeah, but Kyrie hasn't been playing of late. I mean, they've been better together. We'll get into that in the next segment.
We'll get into that. Yeah. But the Kings are getting to where the Kings are just as good as they were last year, if not maybe a little bit worse. And the Western Conference is providing more competition. I think that's the most important thing.
No doubt. The Western Conference always seems to get better and better. All right. Game night being brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. Check out their full line of luxury vehicles at mbfstockton.com. When we come back, we're going to go around the league. 5 Christmas gifts yesterday to watch. I was still bummed. I feel like the league was a little bit of a Scrooge, not giving us the Warriors and the Kings. I would have liked to have seen that. As it was the Nuggets and the Warriors, and it was not a very happy Steve Kerr after. There was not a lot of holiday joy being spread in that post-game press conference by Steve Kerr. We'll get into that. Luka, you mentioned him. He had a Christmas miracle yesterday. I guess miracle's too strong. He's doing this all the time. Not all the time, but a lot. With a 50-point game, and he set a very special mark in terms of where he's at total points in his career. We'll get into all of that and more. And of course, we're going to focus in on Kings and Blazers. It is game night, coming to you live from the Sactown Sports 1140 studios till 6:30.
De'Aaron Fox plays here.
Stolen by Fox. Breakaway coming up for De'Aaron. And a simple, casual spike with the left hand. The Kings lead by 3.
Sactown Sports is your proud home of the Sacramento Kings.
It's Kia's season of giving back at Folsom Lake Kia. Get low year-end prices and payments, plus low finance rates and even zero down deals with approved credit. Shop Folsom Lake Kia right here in Sacramento for over 20 years.
The new year is upon us with promises of new beginnings and new adventures, but don't let 2023 slip away without savoring the memories of all you enjoyed with family and friends. Hi, this is Frank LaRosa with a word about Naturewood Home Furnishings. Of course, looking forward with anticipation is exciting, but I have a lot to appreciate in this past year, and much of that revolves around time with family and more good time spent around my Naturewood dining table. Watching my grandson get messy with his birthday cake is priceless, and it reminds me that new life is the perfect balance between yesterday and today. Greet the new year with a visit to Naturewood Home Furnishings. See all the fine furniture and accessories on sale with Naturewood's New Year sale. Find that perfect piece of furniture that's new today and filled with memories for tomorrow. The memories you make with your family will be with you forever. Naturewood Home Furnishings, off Highway 50 at Hazel. Look for the water wheel.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
This is Jeff Scott. Did you know there's a way to outsmart COVID if you get it? Now, there are medicines that can treat COVID whether or not you've been vaccinated, which is great news, especially if you're over 50. If taken in the first 5 days of having symptoms, COVID medicines can help stop the illness from getting serious. Call the healthcare provider or the statewide COVID hotline at 833-422-4255 to learn more about COVID medicines. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
I'm filled with gratitude for the Golf to Go show guests who have trusted us with their time, their thoughts, and their dreams. People like NBC's Peter Jacobson, Angie Dixon from First Tee Greater Sacramento, former 49er great Steve Young, Sir Nick Faldo, the heralded team at Hagen Oaks like Ken Morton Jr., Tom Morton, PGA Golf to Go's resident on-air playing coach, Mike Woods, PGA Director of Golf, and all the PGA professionals and guests who have entertained us over this year's 52 shows. Thanks also to you, our loyal listeners who are there every week with compliments and suggestions when we might hit it out of bounds. Thanks also to the game that brings us all together, to the millions of men, women, boys, and girls who play the game. Thanks to the able-bodied, and thanks also to the programs that nurture those in need of a lift, like the California Eagles, PGA Hope, and many more. Thank you to Scott Marsh. We are fortunate to have lived life and had a chance to play the game. If that's your Golf to Go, I'm Frank LaRosa. At Elk Grove Honda, our recipe for happy holidays is to think happy Honda days. There's no better time to visit Elk Grove Honda than during our year-end clearance sale in the Elk Grove Auto Mall or online at elkgrovehonda.com.
I gotta get an Elk Grove Honda.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios.
Your home for Kings basketball for over 25 seasons.
No look, Bibby to Weber down the lane, flying jam. There's your play of the night right there. It's inside to Sabonis, a two-hand rip, a brilliant pass from De'Aaron Fox.
KHTKAM Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento.
Sactown Sports.
Welcome back in the game night right here, Sactown Sports 1140. Scott Marsh, no high flyer tonight. He's under the weather. We hope he gets better and gets better fast. Kyle Ledbetter helping out, also running the board as well. If you want to join the program, you can 916-339-1140. Give us a call. We'll get you on the air between now and 6:30. Again, hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas. You're enjoying. This is a great holiday week. Not many people working. Kyle, you and I are literally the only two people in our building right now.
It's a holiday,
we have
isn't
full
it?
rain right now. I feel like I'm, Macaulay Culkin, Home Alone.
Well, you see, I work many weekends here at Sactown Sports.
You know what it's like to be home alone.
I am used to being home alone here at the station.
I have to admit, I was a little lonely because I got here before you tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, where is it? I'm not used to being in this building all by myself.
Hopped off the plane at Sac International and just came here for some Kings basketball. That's what we're excited about.
Well, that's a good reason, and we're glad that you're here. All right, game night is always brought to you by Power Business Technology. Experience how the Power family can help your business office equipment needs today. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or go to powercopiers.com. Let's go around the league. Christmas, a lot of people think it's the kickoff day for the NBA, like it doesn't exist in November or early December. It's the first time they start paying attention to it. Obviously not us here in Sacramento, but there were 5 marquee games yesterday. The Knicks avenging a loss on Saturday, beating the Bucks 129-122. Jalen Brunson brought 38 points in the sleigh to Madison Square Garden. He was fantastic. He's having another all-star type season, all-NBA year for the Knicks. He was great. All right, the game we want to get into, Nuggets and Warriors. Denver wins that one 120-114. The Joker only had 26 points. 18 of those came from the line. He was 18 of 18 from the line. The Warriors did not get to the line as much. Steve Kerr was not feeling festive afterwards. He had a rant, not so much attacking the officials because he thought the officials are good, but more so about just how the refs are being trained these days. Here's Steve Kerr's thoughts after the Warriors game.
They're all across the league. We have really good officials. I have a problem with the way we are legislating defense out of the game. That's what we're doing in the NBA. The way we're teaching the officials, we're just enabling players to BS their way to the foul line. If I were a fan, I wouldn't have wanted to watch the second half of that game. It was disgusting. It was just baiting refs into the calls, but the refs have to make those calls because that's how they're taught.
So there you go with Steve Kerr. Obviously, he was not happy at all, and it really stemmed because there were a few times where the Joker looked like he was fouled, not necessarily in the act of shooting, and they gave him continuation, and Steve Kerr challenged in the game about that, was not thrilled about that, and I don't know what to make about that. I don't really agree with Steve Kerr on that one. I think, if anything, the Warriors have taken advantage of the system because they play the most fluent offensive style, or they certainly did in the past. I mean, they're a little different now, but they're still constant motion, especially with Steph. And a lot of times I think they're the beneficiaries of calls. So I don't know if I could go that far. I think it might have been more frustration. It's interesting that he picked Christmas Day to make those comments. He knows it's a highly visible day. He was definitely had something in mind. It wasn't something that just came off the cuff. It's something that he wanted to highlight on Christmas.
It was one of those games that the Warriors were also in it right at the end. So I think that played a factor. It's like in close games, the referees have more of an impact. And, personally, I've made the call years ago. I think it was after that Rams-Saints NFC Championship game that I'm just not going to be the overly critical referee person.
Yeah, but that was a terrible call in that game, and I'm a Rams fan. That was a terrible call that was missed, and it affected how they changed the ruling in the game. But there was nothing in the Denver game yesterday that's going to affect the way games are called.
Absolutely, and I think it's the 18 free throws for Jokic that he's specifically pointing to in this, and the comments that he made. And Jokic is very good at baiting and switching on some of those foul calls, and I think that was kind of Steve Kerr's complaint, is that shouldn't be rewarded.
Sure, and players do that all the time, and we see that, and I feel like the league has eliminated that a little bit. I mean, what used to be 3 free throws is now just 2 because everybody would try to put up a 3-point shot behind the line, and the league has put in a rule that if you're not actually shooting a 3-point shot, you get fouled. It's either side out or 2 free throws, right? So I don't know. I feel like it's a bit of overkill. I don't. Obviously, it's a different game than in the 90s. We know that, but I don't want the league to go back to how the game was officiated in the 90s, where it was just basically beat everybody up.
The skill level on the offensive side of the ball is so high right now. It's really hard to defend players in this league, and I think that's part of the conversation. I think part of it is just, some of the ticky-tacky bait and switch type of plays that Steve Kerr was upset about, but the level of offensive skill set, and especially from Jokic. I mean, Jokic can give you, as Henry says, all 31 flavors. I mean, he's posting you down, or he gets you at the 3-point line. You think he's going to shoot it, and then he's drawing contact because he's got you off the ground. I mean, there's so many different ways that Jokic can come at you.
And the bottom line is the Warriors have nobody to match up with him, and nobody in the league does, but the Warriors certainly don't.
The Warriors, they have one who could give it an effort, but we know that he is indefinitely
Draymond
suspended.
has no shot against the Joker. None.
He's gotten through, with his body type, he has gotten through some incredible defensive situations. But you're right. I mean, we saw it in the finals last year. Bam Adebayo, who's one of the better defensive centers in the league, had no answers for Jokic because it's collapse, and now we've got a guy in the corner, or one-on-one, he's going to go over you with a hook shot. I mean, Jokic is such a unique player, and I think this is a tipping point, like you said, for Steve Kerr.
Yeah, I think it was more frustration, but it is interesting. The timing, it was not just off the cuff. All right, Celtics and Lakers. That was the game everybody was most interested in. The Celtics went in and beat the Lakers 126-115. Anthony Davis had a huge game, 40 points and 13 rebounds. It wasn't like he didn't show up on yesterday. It's just, when the Celtics are rolling, I think they are the best team in the league. And with Porzingis this year going for 28 and 11 like he did yesterday, and with Drew Holiday, an upgrade, in my opinion, from Marcus Smart, this is the best team in the league.
Absolutely. And all of the numbers back this up, that they're the best team in the league. I mean, before they even got Drew Holiday, they were looking like one of the best teams in the league. And before they even got Kristaps Porzingis, last year they had the #1 net rating in the entire NBA. So how do you get much better than first? Well, the Celtics are proving it this year. They're far and away the best. Also, the Lakers are now, I believe, 9-15 in non-in-season tournament games this year.
Yeah, they're 7-0 in season. And to your point, they are 9-15. They've been good at home. They're 10-4 in LA. And to me, the Lakers are still a team that's built for the playoffs. But we'll see. We'll see how that all shakes out.
I think there's a move coming because D'Angelo Russell got moved to the bench.
He did, and Austin Reeves isn't starting now. I think they'll move him back to the start. But they went long also. But the Celtics, nobody can match up with the unicorn in Porzingis. And, we saw that in Sacramento. The Kings had absolutely no answer for Porzingis. And that was a tough game for Sabonis.
When the Celtics are playing their best, they are the best team in the NBA.
Yeah. All right. And when this guy's playing his best, he might be the MVP of the league. Luka gave everybody a huge Christmas treat yesterday in the late game as Dallas beat Phoenix 128-114. Luka went for 50 points, 15 assists, and 6 rebounds. Fourth time in league history that somebody went for 50 on Christmas. He tied Rick Barry, who had a 50-point game. Wilt had a 59.36 rebound game. I would have loved to have seen that one. And then Bernard King, one of the greatest offensive players of all time, went for 60 at the Garden back in '84. But this was definitely one of the great Christmas performances of all time.
Luka Doncic is absolutely incredible.
And he's in great shape right now, too.
Absolutely. And I know that people have noticed that he takes a particular interest in beating up on the Phoenix Suns, going all the way back to the Game 7 in Phoenix that they won by 40 some odd points. I mean, he goes to work against Phoenix, and I like that that's a little bit of a budding rivalry. I'm with you that I'm upset that it wasn't Warriors and Kings, or at the very least just some better matchups on Christmas Day. And maybe Joel Embiid being out sucked some of the energy out of that game, but Dallas and Phoenix is a nice mini rivalry.
Jimmy Butler in that game either, between the 76ers and the Heat.
But Jaime Jaquez, though.
He played great, had 31 and 10. Heat won that game 119-113, and then that rounds out the 5 games. So overall, it was a great NBA Christmas, and Luka was the nightcap little stocking stuffer at the end that was so fun to watch. And the Mavs are 18-12. They're playing well. They don't have Kyrie right now, but this is a team that I think they're for real.
Grant Williams and Derek Lively coming in have transformed the Mavericks in a way that I did not think was going to happen in the offseason. When they fell out of contention last year and, ended up missing the play-in altogether, it looked like this was going to be a bit of a doomed experiment.
Yep.
But they've added some length. They've traded out some pieces that were bad fits last year, and this thing seems to be working better around Luka Doncic. I won't say it's fixed. They did make a Western Conference final when they had Jalen Brunson, but this thing seems to be getting on track for Dallas. I think they're 5th in the West right now.
Yeah, they're also 10-6 away from Dallas, so they're playing well on the road, and the Mavs are 5th in the Western Conference right now. They're a game back of Sacramento. All right. When we come back, we'll take a look at some of the other games going on around the league today. And of course, we'll get you ready for Kings and Blazers, game number 2 of the season between these two teams. It's game night. And it's being brought to you by our good friends at the Arnold Law Firm. When we come back, we'll have the fully updated injury report. It is good for the Kings. Game night right here, Sactown Sports 1140.
The Kings are in Portland tonight to battle the Blazers.
Another deep three. De'Aaron Fox from downtown, and I mean, he's out there in 30-foot range.
Tip-off tonight at 7 on your home of the Kings. Sactown Sports and the Sactown Sports app.
Does your dog leave frowny piles of poo around the yard? Did you know that a solid poo is one of the best indicators of your dog's gut health? Supreme Source Super Premium Dog Food is made with organic super seaweed and other powerful antioxidants, supporting a healthy digestive system. Real protein is always the first ingredient, plus a blend of essential vitamins and minerals to help support your dog's overall health and well-being. Do their digestion a solid, literally. Find Supreme Source premium dog food at Safeway, Safe Mart, and Winco, or a local grocery store near you.
California's largest Sportsman's Expo is back, January 18th at Cal Expo in Sacramento. Find the best selection of boats, side-by-sides, campers, and accessories, all at special prices. And get to your next adventure in style. See Toyota's all-new Tacoma. Your life outdoors at the International Sportsman's Expo, January 18th through 21st at Cal Expo in Sacramento. More info at sportsexpos.com.
Hi, this is Henry Turner, aka the High Flyer. I've done a lot of amazing things on the basketball floor, but now it's your turn to be amazing. For more than 55 years, Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Sacramento has helped out the youth beat many odds. Too many littles, especially boys, are still waiting for volunteers, Big Brothers. Volunteers to spend at least 4 to 6 hours a month with local youth who needs guidance and support. So donate your time to Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the greater Sacramento area. Get involved. It's easy as a layup. Call 916-646-9300.
As we come together to celebrate the end of this long year, Stockton Honda has savings to bring us all cheer. Happy Honda Day savings and selection galore. Stockton Honda's online express purchase and great people give you more.
Save on 400 new Hondas at Stockton Honda during Happy Honda Days. Shop in person or online with our express purchase option.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
Guys, want to lose weight, improve your performance, and increase your drive? Revive Men's Health can help you make it happen with our new cutting-edge weight loss medications like your favorite athletes and celebrities use. They're affordable and available now. And since your testosterone level has a direct impact on your weight and fitness, get a free T-check and free exam. Book your appointment today at Revive Sacramento. We know we can help you. Call 916-277-8599. That's 916-277-8599. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Welcome back into Game Day, right here, Sactown Sports, 1140. Scott Marshall on with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. Not here, unfortunately, because of illness. We'll hope to get him back on Friday. It's a 3-game road trip for the Kings. They'll be in Atlanta on Friday. They close out 2023 in Memphis against the Grizz, a team that's surging. They've won 3 straight. Grizz are trailing at the half right now to the Pelicans, 48-43. Hawks are in action as well. They're leading at the half over the Bulls, 56-50. So the Kings undoubtedly will see 2 of the best point guards in the league, in Trae Young and Ja Morant, upcoming. Anthony Simons is a guy who can absolutely light it up for the Blazers. He's had 8 straight 25-point-plus games that the Kings will have to contend with tonight. But as we look at the scores, Kyle, the game that everybody is intently following here is in Detroit right now, where the Nets have opened up a 7-point lead with 3:33 to go. Pistons at 2-27. They've lost 26 straight. They can set the single season most losses in a row in a single season with a loss here. And it looks like that is going to happen, barring a comeback. And why would you think this team at 2-27 would come back right now?
I mean, they got to win one at some point, right? Ja Morant came back on Tuesday, and he's won more games than the Detroit Pistons.
He's not in the Pistons uniform, though.
I know. It's just, gosh, it's incredible that they have done this.
The record all time carrying over seasons is 28, so they're almost at that one as well.
If I were to add on to the, the pain, their next game is at the Garden against the Boston Celtics. So I don't
it's not happening.
Don't think that's going to work out for them. And then after that, it's Toronto, Houston, at Utah, at Golden State. It's not looking good for Detroit.
Well, it hasn't looked. I mean, when you lose 26 in a row, it doesn't matter who you're playing.
No, but this team doesn't feel like a historically bad team, and yet you look up and they really don't have much else. I mean, even Cade Cunningham has been a bit of a disappointment, even as he's gone for 43 in a loss against the Hawks.
He's played well in stretches, but it's hard to figure out. They started off 2-1. That's the thing that's so crazy about this. And they've lost 26 straight. So again, that game late fourth quarter, Nets leading by 7. We'll update that, and Jason Ross will have that throughout the Kings broadcast as well. All right, Magic leading the Wizards, who have been terrible this year too, 119 to 113. The Wizards are 5-23. They're 2-8 at home. Pacers trailing in Houston right now, 67-64. Tyrese Halliburton's back and playing, 15.7 assists. Alperen Sengun, 14.6 rebounds. He may be the next up-and-coming center in this league.
I'm going to petition for him to make the All-Star team. Not at the expense of Domantas Sabonis, but I do think
What do you
he
do to
deserves
petition?
it.
What does
I'm
that
just
mean?
going to use my platform on local Sacramento radio to point out that Alperen Sengun deserves to be an All-Star this year in the West.
All right, I like that, and he certainly is worthy of consideration. He's had an outstanding season so far. Let's see here. Timberwolves are back in action. They are trailing to the Thunder and OKC, 66-60. SGA has 16. Ant-Man has 14 at the half. Jazz are leading the Spurs, who have been historically bad too. That score 64-60 Utah. The Spurs are 4-24. And I'm Wembanyama's had some nice moments, but overall, I don't think he's been, just from a number standpoint, as good as I thought he would be.
No, I think some people had this vision of him, even at 19 years old, coming in and lighting the league on fire. And it's not really practical like it was when Tim Duncan was playing 4 years of college.
And especially on that team too. The Spurs have some talent, but they're more like the Pistons than they are than.
Yes, I think that is fair.
A playoff caliber.
They are about 2 or 3 top end prospects away. I know Jeremy Sochan was a former lottery pick, but that has not worked out the way they hoped. Keldon Johnson is very good, but there's rumors that he's not a good fit with that team.
Vassal's been pretty good.
Vassal's been pretty good when healthy. Obviously, just got the big extension, but they have some work to do to figure out how the roster will fit around Wemby.
They do, and I hope a lot of people got your Spurs book for Christmas.
I hope
I was
so.
Pushing that.
I'm seeing a couple of orders on the online database. So some of you
Spurs
guys
Dynasty. I love it. On Amazon, you can get it. Kyle Ledbetter is an author, has broken it down, and it's a great read. All right, Hornets and Clippers later on tonight. That's in LA. Hornets will be here on January 2nd as the Kings will be back home in 2024. All right, for Kings and Blazers tonight, it's time now to look at the injury report. And for really the first time all season since the opening week, the Kings don't have any injuries. This is pretty amazing. They are fully healthy. Everybody's ready to go. Malik Monk is back. Alex Len, who's been out since November 13th, will be back as well. So we'll see. Hopefully the Kings can keep this report for a while here. The injury report brought to you by the Arnold Law Firm, providing justice for you since 1975. If you're injured, call the Arnold Law Firm at 916-777-7777. That's easy to remember. 916-777-7777. All right, Kyle, last few seconds here. What are you thinking tonight?
Like we said earlier, this is a game that great teams in the league win. Sacramento should expect to come in, and I'm just excited to see the whole team together again, to see Herter and Monk and Harrison Barnes and Keegan all playing together at the same time. Obviously, Fox was hurt earlier in the year. Just very excited to see the whole team healthy, and welcome back Alex Len, because I went to one game this year, and that was the game he got hurt, so I'm glad to see Alex Len back in the lineup.
Well, good thing you're not in person in Portland tonight then.
That is fair.
Right.
I will stay here in the studios working these games instead.
You will. Kyle stays. I leave. Jason Ross fills in for Kings Live pregame. Actually, he hosts that all the time. He'll be here for Kings Live pregame. G-Man with the call. 7 o'clock tip. We'll have you covered all evening long. Again, Sacramento Kings basketball taking on the Portland Trailblazers right here on Sactown Sports 1140. Have a great evening, everyone.
It's the Golf to Go Hour with Frank LaRosa. Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Saturdays at 8 a.m. on Sactown Sports.